Okay, it's me again, and it's not easy to do this. Gotta think about what I'm saying and try to be efficient. Before I get into the next important scale, probably the most important scale to learn, which is the diatonic scale, which is the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Total of 8, but really only 7 because the 8th note is the octave. I remind you that the root note where you start that is primarily important because conceptually, all the scale stuff that I talk about is just a matter of where you start. So that's why in fact, the whole idea of saying do is fantastic because it's you're not saying A, you're not saying C, you're saying do. So it applies to any one of the notes, any one of those 12 notes we've talked about. Just a matter of where you start. Okay, I made a point of talking about these essentially 3 different kinds of chords that you play down in the open position. This is open versus bar. So bar versus open. And again, you know that. You seem to play mostly open, which is very cool. What I'm going to be talking about is going to, again, open up your brain to the ability to move all over the neck and know that you want to be there and why you're there. It's just like a map. You're going to journey all over the neck, but if you don't know where you're at on a map, it does you no good at all, which is why my chromatic lesson for you is very important. You want to be able to put your finger down anywhere on the neck and at least be able to figure out what that note is. And again, do you have to know exactly? And I do know that this is just putting my finger down. I'm going to say that's a C note. And I know that, okay? I've done this enough. And this whole lesson plan that I'm giving you is so that you can put your finger down and you might not know what this note is, but you're going to be able to figure it out. And you'll be able to figure it out by saying, okay, I'll do that right now. I'm going to go, this is an open G string, G sharp, A, very important to know, A sharp, B, C, okay? So I think that's where I started, but I'm gonna say that you didn't know what that note was, but you just figured it out. And if we're gonna do a scale or build a chord off of that, you can, because you're gonna figure things out eventually, and that's based upon this note here, the C. That happens to be the C major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do's. That's a C, C. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but just encouraging you to just take it easy, keep it simple, and before I get deeply into the major scale, I want to remind you that for education purposes, that there is this E major scale, which is the open E. Let's see here. That's a B. That's an E, and that's it's a D sharp. No, I'm sorry. That's a G sharp. Not that matters. I'm showing you that that's one chord pattern. Hard to show that, but you know that. That's an E major. That's one pattern. And I'm making this point because, again, I want you to pretend that this note here, that open E, that open E is really being held down. You're barring it. So here's this E that you know how to play, but I want you to pretend that you're barring it, because when you go up the neck, every half fret changes that chord. It becomes from an E major to an F major to an F sharp major to a G major to a G sharp major, and I'm going to stop in the 5th fret, and that's an A major, okay? And it's all based upon that E, all right? That's one pattern that I want you to bite down on. And here's the next pattern we talked about. It's going to be this A. If you're barring, again, you know how to play the A major on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string. That's an A. That happens to be an A major. And by the way, this 5th string is an open A, which happens to be the root note for that A pattern. By the way, back to that E, that 6th string open, this is the root note for that E major. So back to the 2nd chord structure, using an open 5th string root note is the A, and then the 3rd pattern is that D pattern, which is going to be on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string, respectively. On the and again, you know this is on the 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 2nd string, and 3rd string, 2nd fret. And if you play that open 4th string as a D, that's a D chord. And here we are at 7 minutes already, so I'm going to have to move on before I get to the major scale. But I'm making this point because these chords are going to move up the neck, and every time they move up the neck, they become a different chord as you move up the neck. Just like when you capo it, you make capo here at the 2nd fret and play that D, and you call it a D, but it's really not a D, it's an E. So, yeah, I'm well into this and haven't gotten to where I wanted to go. I also made a point that people talk about this other chord pattern, which is the C pattern. But I'm not really talking about that, because this D pattern is essentially, it's the same pattern, but in any event, I'm going to stop right there. There's an E major, an A major, and a D major, and I want to make this point before I wrap up this lesson. If you flatten the 3rd on a piano, or flatten the 3rd note in a chord structure, it becomes a minor. So this E that I just got through talking about, when you flatten that 3rd, you now have an E minor pattern. And then when you flatten the 3rd in the A, you end up with an A minor pattern. And when you flatten the 3rd on that D, you come up with a D minor pattern. Okay, so that's extremely important, because now you have 6 chords that are going to eventually move up the neck. And when you take these chords, those 6 chords, and you begin to add certain notes, a 7th, you end up with a 7th, or a 9th, or you drop notes. The chords begin to change, but they're based upon the major patterns and then the minor patterns. well into this, going on 10 minutes. I'm going to end that. Bye.